Hey, it's a real American Brian, and I went on a little shopping trip. I got some quick hobby time in, and overall, I just have some cool stuff to show you. So I want to get into that and discuss some things. I had a busy day yesterday. I met with my brother for breakfast, and we talked about comics for quite a bit, and we exchanged some comics with each other to read. And he's going to be on the channel in the future, and we're going to be going through his read through of a comic that he's never read before, and I'm going to do some fresh eyes on it before it's hand, but we're going to go into it and review that. So that'll be something to look forward to in the future. But then after that, I took a little trip to a flea market with a big comic booth that I haven't been to before and have been following on Facebook, and bought a bunch of stuff that I want to show off. So let's take a look at it.
Yo, Joe. Talking comics, here's your host. It's a real American Brian.
All right, so as I mentioned, I started my day off having breakfast with my brother, and I gave him a book to read that we're going to discuss on the channel in the future. And then he also gave me a book to read that we will discuss maybe on his YouTube channel. His YouTube channel is Taylor Talks Comics. You should definitely check it out. He talks a lot about collected edition books and things. But this will be the book that I'll be reading, and we'll be talking to him more and talking about that book a lot more in the future. So keep an eye out for that. When I got home, I had some packages in the mail from things that I'd purchased recently, and kind of want to show that stuff off. So the first thing was a few books that I had gotten from someone that was selling some stuff. So I got some Helix covers. Here, a couple of them. From Silent Option. And then I got Special Missions #1. I'm still putting together the full IDW Special Missions run. And I didn't have a #1 or a #7 yet, but got those. And then the G.I. Joe versus Cobra fun publications. I don't have a whole lot of these, but as I see them, I'm kind of picking them up to kind of get a little collection of those going. So those were waiting for me in the mail, so that was pretty cool. And then I also had a graded book that I had purchased that, I don't know, it was kind of interesting. First, it's an 8.5. I didn't intend to, but I have a good collection of CGC 8.5s of like Marvel era G.I. Joe books, which is kind of crazy. But looking at this, like, it doesn't, it looks worse than an 8.5 to me. I mean, there's quite a bit going on with the book that if this is an 8.5, then, my issue 21 that I'll show off in a future video should definitely be much higher. And then also, like, the cover and the pages are kind of splayed out. I don't know if that's from in the inner sleeve or how they put it in there. But overall, it doesn't present that great. I went back and looked at the eBay auction, and you really couldn't tell that from the pictures. But, I mean, the grade is the grade, and I got it for a pretty cheap price, so I can't really complain about that, I guess. But it doesn't present as well as I would have liked, but maybe I'll put it on my shelf a little further away, and from a distance it'll look fine, I guess. I don't know. Not super pleased with the presentation of it, but for what I paid for it, I can't really complain. So that's what I got in the mail, and then I took a trip to a flea market booth. It was like a 2-hour trip from my house, and the guy that runs it it's like the indoor flea market consignment type shops, and he has them all over the northern part of the state, but his main one is the one that I went to, and they were doing not only the flea market inside, but they had a special, like once a year they do one outside of the parking lot, so he was out there with some dollar books as well. So I got some stuff out of his dollar box, which, I mean, none of it was really in great condition, but it's all stuff that I thought was pretty interesting and I was going to check out. So I got Judge Dredd and this Justice League United. It's the Mars Attacks cover. It's kind of cool. An old Richie Rich, because why not? I thought this looked really neat. Curse of the Weird. Don't know anything about it at all, but for $1, I'll give it a try. And I got a random issue of the Nom. I've thought about collecting all the Nom and getting it like custom bound or something. But I wanted to try a few issues out and see if I really like them that much. And there's a little advertisement for the toy collectible comic shows that they run multiple times a year in Fort Wayne. And Burnt Comics was the booth that I was going to, and the person I was going there to see. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so I'm going to read the nom and see if I'm interested enough to continue on with the project, or if it's better to put my energy somewhere else. And this thing cover was just super cool. Older cover, Marvel Greatest Comics. Just super awesome. Something that I thought probably belonged somewhere other than a dollar bin. It's not in great shape, but pretty cool comic. So that's all the stuff I got from the dollar bin. Then I went inside to his normal booth, and he said he had about 20,000 comics inside. There was quite a bit there. He had some glass booths with some gijoe toys and things in it, and the gijoe comics. There was like a full long box of gijoe comics from all the different eras, and really cool stuff. So I picked up quite a few things. I got from the IDW continuity, just super cool cover, Snake Eyes and Helix, which I'm on a big Helix kick right now, which there'll be a future video where we go over Silent Option, and I think reading that has kind of got me, or reminded me how much I enjoy the character. And there we go, Storm Shadow and Helix, so how could I not pick that up for a couple dollars? Pretty awesome stuff. And then, so this book, a little more than I wanted to pay for it, but watching it on eBay and stuff, can get it a little bit cheaper, but this is in really great condition, and figured why not. So the reason I've been looking at this book, this is actually the only issue of G.I. Joe I owned as a kid, was this comic book. I was much more of a G.I. Joe the cartoon and toy kid than the comic book. It took me becoming an adult before I got into the comic. So this is the only issue I ever owned as a kid, and it's probably because I was into both Transformers and G.I. Joe. And I got it off a spinner rack at a drugstore, so getting a newsstand version of it, I thought that was kind of cool for like a personal nostalgic kind of piece in my collection. And then, so these Larry Hama sketch covers, anytime I've can find them for like $10 or less, I've been picking them up. I have quite a few now. Really need to see, I'm looking forward to the After Action report, which is a great thing. I'll link to their site in the description as well. But they do these awesome reference books, and they have an IDW one that will be coming out next spring. They haven't done the Kickstarter for it yet. But that'll be cool to have like a checklist of how many actual sketch covers there are and which ones I need. But I have quite a few at this point. And he had quite a good amount in his box there, so I picked up several of them. There's a cool road pig there. Pretty cool stuff. So I have several of these that I got all at once, which is probably the most I've gotten at any one time, but I have to be getting close to having all the sketch covers. But it's pretty cool to see, so Larry does these and sends them out as an idea for the artist to use if they want to, and most of the time they do. And I think IDW contacted Larry at one point and like, hey, can we put these on as RI covers or like alternate covers? And he was like, sure. And I'm sure he got some money for it, so why not? Yeah, so then, as this might give away, this is a 3D comic. Another comic I've been looking at is the G.I. Joe 3D #1, basically because of the Sergeant Slaughter on the cover, which is pretty neat. I hope to run into Sarge someday and get him to sign this book and then his first appearance book, which I've set aside. But I've never had any of the G.I. Joe 3D comics. This is my first one of those. Yeah, so that's what I got. Some pretty neat stuff. Overall, it was a pretty good trip. I think if I factor in gas, probably wasn't the best prices on the books. But it was a fun day, so let's forget about gas and just enjoy adding a whole bunch of cool books to my collection. Yeah, if there's any of these that you want to talk about, if you remember any of these, or if you remember your first G.I. Joe issue, I guess we can go back to that. What was your first G.I. Joe comic book issue? Let me know in the comments below and we can have a little conversation about it. But that was my busy Saturday that I took this week, and I think it was pretty successful for the collection anyway. So, hey, let me know what you think.